on Westmarch Workshop. Leviathan returned after a 2-episode hiatus. After his dog escaped and Leviathan risked his life to save Old Rusty, he ended up causing a 12-car pileup and trouble with China. In preparation for BlizzCon, Nineball and Leviathan played Diablo for 124 hours straight. Ironically, this led to Nineball being hospitalized and Leviathan in trouble at work, meaning they both had to miss BlizzCon, and Archon would go it alone. Archon, after spending too much time at the Hilton Bar, stumbled his way through BlizzCon, remembering very little. In fact, he drank so much, he's blacked out everything for the past 2 weeks, and is just now waking up. Whoa. Hey guys. Let's... Are we still... This is episode 28, right?
Yeah, man. I can't wait to hear what happens.
I can't wait to hear what happens next.
Yeah. Well, let me. This outro music was way longer than I anticipated. Let me just fade it out here.
Oh man, that's good stuff right there.
That was beautiful. Now everyone knows the real story. Everyone knows the real story now.
Yeah, I thought I'd catch you guys up. You know, some people miss a few episodes here and there. A lot of people were asking about Leviathan's dog. Specifically its name.
Still kills me. Still kills me.
Yeah. All right. Well, exciting news in Diablo this week, huh? All of them announcements and changes.
So many news releases.
Yeah. So much
things to write about.
Yeah.
It all.
Oh no, wait. That was 2 weeks ago, right? Dang it.
Yeah, no, we're rather sparse on updates at the moment, but it kind of makes sense too, since I'm assuming the devs and the whole team over there is in data collection mode with the PTR going on at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the PTR for 1 week. They just, it's not even been a full week since they reset and did Season 2, with the switch over and the new items and such. So, it's not going to be a lot of changes anytime soon until they collect data to make meaningful changes.
Yeah, it seems in the past PTRs have lasted, what, like 6 weeks on average?
That sounds about right from memory.
I do not know.
That's my best guess. I should have done some research because people listen to us sometimes, but I think it's around there. Usually just over a month. Seems about right.
Yeah, because I would say I feel like I would have recalled if we were, well, I don't even know. Would I have been outraged if it was like a 2-month PTR? I don't know. But yeah, this one is interesting because they did note right from the outset that it should be a rather short PTR, which is why they did what they did in terms of this Season 2 rollout, putting out that huge buff, community buff, which I actually have the details on right here. And this went live last Thursday. And what happened was that they went and tested the rollover from Season 1 to the time that they call the pre-air or the pre-season, and then rolling the start of Season 2. And in sync with that, to kind of motivate people to test out Season 2 and to just be on the PTR, giving all the new items and the new changes a go, they added a community buff that gives 300% bonus experience. 2,000%, you heard that right. 2,000% bonus chance to find legendaries. I'm just gonna a little moment of silence right there.
20
double
times as many legendaries. Right?
That's exactly what that translates to. 20 times. And also along with that, double goblins, double blood shards, whatever.
Yeah, it's all just drops in the bucket after 20 times as many legendaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's last. If I maybe could transition into weekend gaming here.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Getting ahead of ourselves, yes.
Yes,
if I get straight into the news. No one cares. No one cares what we did this last week.
Yeah, it's probably
Let's
true.
be honest.
But we're gonna tell you anyway. Because last PTR, I played so much PTR that I got totally burnt out, and then I had to take a few weeks off before the patch came out because I just I played too much PTR. So this time I was I'm going to relax during PTR, so I'm still excited about the changes when they come out. But 20 times as many legendaries, that's going to be hard to not jump in and play with. So I think I'm going to be in there.
Yeah, I mean, well, to go slightly off topic, it is really working. There are major queues for starting up games in the PTR because so many people are on there testing things out.
Yeah, make it way easier to test. I mean, Diablo is one of those games where you need to play forever before you even have like access to the build you want. So this will be awesome for testing.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, it opened things right back up. I went through to jump into the weekend gaming. I went through that night Thursday, stayed up way later than I should have, as per usual for me, and just got really into it. I almost treated it as if it were the start of season two, just really trying to min max my time in there. And I realized after a while I didn't need to because I was trying to like pick the best bounties and use get my resources and
Uh-huh.
everything like that. And I'm like, I'm already level 70. Like I feel like I just kind of like was watching an episode of SVU on this screen, and all of a sudden I'm like, why am I in Torment 2? Why do I have all these legendaries? What's happening?
You just play
Like
on
what?
autopilot now.
Yeah, it's like woke up from some dream. But with those rates, man, it really it's kind of amazing. Like I got back to essentially the same build that I have on live within 10 hours on the PTR. So I mean I guess it kind of makes sense too because if it's 20 times legendary drop rate, you can almost say like, okay, so 10 hours is basically 200 hours worth of fines, you know?
Yeah. Droth Vader said he's actually specifically not playing because of the 20 times legendary. He doesn't want to be disappointed when it goes back to the normal drop rate.
It is a little bit addictive. I'm leveling up a new witch doctor because I actually want to get some research in for season 2. I'm switching from the demon hunter over to the witch doctor, and I'm not even level 30 yet, and I found 20 legendaries. I've got 2 equipped and then like 18 fiery souls in my bags. It is just ridiculous how much they drop.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting too, as you start to go up and as you start to get into that mode of testing and trying to, really min max things out. I found that weird issues start to occur with the drop rate being what it is because, like OM Veg is saying in chat, you actually start to skip a lot of those yellow and blue drops since everything is popping out legendary, and you actually run pretty dry on some of the lower tier mats that you need. So if
Uh,
you want to do anything with crafting or re-rolling, enchanting, like the one thing that was really limiting my play was if I wasn't finding a new piece to replace, like an Akon's piece or the new seasonal belt or something. And I was trying to re-roll it to get better, but I would get maybe 2 shots at re-rolling it because I had so many Forgotten Souls, but not nearly enough Veiled Crystals or Arcane Dust to match up with that.
yeah, makes
P-
sense.
PTR
Mhm.
problems. Hashtag.
Yeah, PTR.
Getting
First world
started.
PTR problems.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I spent most of my time on WoW again. Still rolling with the
Wah,
warlords.
wah.
Yeah, yeah. Although a new awesome game came out. Have you guys ever played Geometry Wars?
Yes,
No.
yes. I know exactly what you're talking about, so continue.
Yes. Well, Geometry Wars, awesome arcade game you can get for Xbox Live Arcade. Um, just came out with Geometry Wars 3, and
Hmm.
it's so cool. It's like Geometry Wars 2 has been one of like my groups of friends' staple games. When we don't know what else to play, we play Geometry Wars. Fun for hours.
Hmm.
And it's basically just like super intense dual stick 2D shooter. So one
Hmm.
stick move, one stick shoot. It's like the simplest game ever, but if you like, Xbox Live Arcade type games,
Hmm.
it's probably like $5. I don't know how much it is, but get it whatever it costs.
I I have been holding off on purchasing it just because I have had no time whatsoever with everything else that's been coming out lately. But this is the first one that's actually out on the PS4 now as well. And
Oh wow.
I have missed Geometry Wars because I haven't had an Xbox since the original Xbox. I had an Xbox 360 for a little bit, but then I sold it, and I had to give up Geometry Wars at that point. And I'm just like, no. But now they're finally bringing it cross-platform, and I am as happy as can be, except for the fact that I have no time to play,
Yeah,
and then
sad.
that makes me sad.
Yeah, I won't go into the details, but it's really fun. Check it out.
Hmm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything exciting this week before we start covering the mountain of news?
Oh, I do have something exciting.
Ooh.
So, me being the kind of person that I am, I got to a point with live where I did the PTR, and that was mostly my Thursday and Friday that I took off work because I was sick. And then over the weekend, I got back to live just because I didn't want to, like a lot of people are saying, didn't want to spoil myself on the new drop rates and didn't want to spend too much time in PTR because none of that stuff is real. So got back to live and trying to bash my head against the greater rifts leaderboards, trying to hop back up, get to greater rift 39 or 40 hopefully before the season ends, and I just wasn't having any luck getting terrible maps and stuff. So I had a demon hunter that I actually leveled to 70 just because when I get bored I level characters to 70 because why not. And I thought it would be fun to challenge Mr. Nineball over here. I basically went and looked at his profile, and I said, "I can make that DH. You know what? I can make it better."
Yeah, I wonder why. What is the one thing that you have that will make it better?
I don't know. Could it be a certain pair of gloves?
Yeah.
You want to know what's hilarious too is that I was working on that DH Sunday. That was primarily what I did on Sunday, and Hometown Hero, who's one of the guys, he's on Twitter quite a bit, plays D3 a decent amount, and he hangs out with a lot of the Shattered Soulstone guys. He was on and was just like, "Hey, let's run our Crusaders together. If you find some pieces, I could use XYZ." And he found a Tasker and Theo during those, like, I think we played 4 rifts together, and that was it. And he didn't want it, so I was like, "I'll take it," and that was the one that actually turned into my Dex Tasker. So it wasn't even one that I had found.
Poor Nineball.
If you guys could see the look on that, they will. They will see the look.
That's pretty awesome.
So I've thrown down the gauntlet. I want to race Nineball to the highest greater rift we can get before the season is over.
Greatest change in 2.12, Tasker and Theo is now useless to demon hunters, and I couldn't agree more. Yes, my rage for Tasker and Theos is legendary. And then I'll probably end up liking the pet builds for witch doctors and be like the one spec that actually still requires Tasker and Theos in the next patch.
Still
Wonderful.
Oh,
find us.
Why do you do it to yourself?
I don't know. I don't.
But yeah, that was it for me. I was having a little bit of fun with that. It's been nice to just have a second. I think maybe more than anything, this could be a nice recommendation to people. If you really have been concentrating on just one class, but you still want to play the game, level up another thing just to mix it up. Because it's kind of nice. What I do now is run rifts on my Crusader, and I'm hoping that any of the drops I get there will possibly add to my collection of things I can use to maybe beat down one of the higher greater rifts. But then I take all my blood shards and I just go over to my DH and gamble the slots that are weakest. So it's kind of nice back and forth play. And then when I go to the DH, I'll do a couple of greater rifts just to test out where she's at.
You are a machine. I don't get it. Like leveling characters because you're bored. I don't get it.
It's because you'll always need I don't know. You just always need more rift keys or gameplay or something. To me, I guess I've been weird in that I'm never the kind of person that gets excited when other blockbuster games come out because I don't really want to play anything else until I feel like I am done with the one game that I'm playing. So for me, the past almost 3 years now, that game has been Diablo 3. And so even when I have Final Fantasy 10 HD edition and Final Fantasy 13 3, all those things, I pick them up because I know I want to play them, but I don't know when I'll actually play them because it's just that kind of, I don't know if you call it insanity or what, but for whatever reason, I don't know. To me, it makes sense, and it's kind of been something that I've done with running and things like that too, where you just realize you have this singular purpose, and the more you focus your energy there, just the better at it that you'll become. Almost that practice makes perfect mantra.
Yeah, I tend to stick to single games, but I don't have the kind of commitment you have. The only time I leveled alts in Diablo is when we needed it for the stream, and one of the viewers would be like, "I'll power level you." I'm like, fine. If I can get it done in an hour and a half, I guess I'll level it out.
I have to say I'm similar in that regard. Although I did put a lot of time into Destiny, I picked up like Shadows of Mordor and maybe played it for 2 hours, and then it's just sitting there collecting dust. That's why I really don't buy that many video games, because it really comes down to, well, I've already got this, and it's giving me my fulfillment. It's giving me my enjoyment for playing video games. I could go through and pick that up, but it's like it's a single player game. I'm gonna play it, beat the story, and then I'm done. And then I'll go back to Diablo or World of Warcraft or Starcraft or Hearthstone or whatever it is that I'm doing. So it's yeah, I think I really only buy like maybe 2 or 3 games a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
it's around that same level of adding new things to the collection.
I think I buy like 2 games a year if you don't count like the Steam sales, and if you do
Mm-hmm.
count the Steam sales, it's like 117 games a year or so.
Uh-huh.
I just can't help
I,
myself. It's like $2,
I,
$2, $5.
I,
The value! Someone please think of the value.
yeah, there's a secret that I have to keep me from going through and splurging on Steam sales. I don't
What do you
have
do?
Steam.
Ah,
Ah.
missing
Smart
out.
man.
Steam Box is gonna come out, and then you're gonna need to get on that.
Yeah, yeah. I just know that as soon as I install Steam, I'm gonna have like 300 games, and you'll never see me again.
It's true. It's true. But I'd forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of video games, I heard some stuff happen in Diablo this week.
Yes. Yeah, we can hop back into the few news items that we do have. One of the things that's actually interesting looking right now is that they're put out another push for focused feedback. Some of the, again, like we were saying, they want this to be a short PTR, so they're really trying to hone in on kind of the sweet spots of what they need to have tested and make sure that it's at a right level before they unleash patch 2.1.2 to the wild. So one of the things that I isolated here was the Demon Hunter Marauders 6-piece set is getting yet another change, and it hasn't gone live on the PTR yet. So that we at least know there will be a future patch to the PTR, and there'll probably be other changes besides just this rearranging of the Marauder set. But the new bonuses that they have now will be the 2-piece, giving your companion, calling all your companions to your side. So they're moving that from what was the 4-piece to the 2-piece. The 4-piece then becomes sentries cast your hatred spenders when you do. So that was what was the 6-piece. That's moving to the 4. And then the 6-piece bonus is now your generators, elemental arrow, chakram, impale, multi-shot, and cluster arrow deal 100% increased damage for every active sentry. And so this changes what they stated for the philosophy of the change is that it's supposed to put the power back in the hands of the demon hunter, his or herself. It's supposed to make it so that instead of you feeling like you throw out your sentries and that's where the main brunt of your damage is coming from, the sentries are now relegated to their supporting role, which is kind of what they were originally designed to be. And that means that it's really important for you to be being cautious of where your DH is, if they're in the battle more often than not, because if you're not, then your DPS is definitely going to suffer. Whereas before, you ran out of hatred, okay, that's fine. My sentries are doing all the damage anyway. So
Yeah,
an interesting change.
I'm glad they included Impale in there too, because it was totally going to screw up my Impale build. They didn't have that.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
does
thank
anyone
goodness.
use Impale yet? Have they
Uh,
buffed it enough
fr-
yet?
from level 2 to 3, and it's the only skill that you can use.
Yeah.
I can see the devs coming out with a stat like that. Like, you guys think Impale's unpopular, but we found out 90% of our demon hunters between level 2 and 3 use exclusively the Impale build.
Ah, imagine that.
Yeah. I guess it's just not that fun of a skill either, right?
Yeah, it's not flashy. It doesn't do much, and compared to the other things, I mean, like you can shoot out a ball of lightning that just zaps everything. The fantasy of that is way cooler than like here's this little like line that goes out and boink, pokes a thing.
Yeah. True story.
So I wonder if it if it looked like if the demon hunter went up to the mob, like grabbed it around the neck and like stuck a shiv in there with that, like I think I might use that.
Yeah, if you like teleported
Yeah.
to the mob and just like impale,
Yeah.
that could be
That,
that could be a build.
that would actually be pretty awesome. I would definitely play that. I would definitely play that.
It'd be like an assassin, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, bring back that fantasy.
Well, Yeah.
I like it.
You know, it's an interesting skill, but they've always had problems with it, with the cost and the damage, and just there's not a lot of room in Diablo for single target skills. There just isn't. I mean, you look at like the top performing build in the entire game as far as Greater Rift progression goes, and it's the Charged Barbarians, because they can, even though it takes them 10 minutes to kill the Rift boss, they clear the 100% of the Greater Rift in like 5 minutes, just because they clear through the mobs so quickly, and then their single target damage sucks. But it's just so much of the game hinges on AOE that you don't really have a space on your bars for it.
It really makes me wonder if, some people throw out that thought experiment of what if we had 7 skills? Would that 7th skill actually be the single target skill that none of us are carrying, or would it just be more support for the AoE?
It probably just end up being more support, to be honest.
Yeah, I can tell you if it was a wizard and you weren't already using, magic weapon and spark flint and some kind of armor, then it would just be one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then, it's like for a demon hunter, it would probably be marked for death if you don't have a calamity, and if you do, it'd probably be just adding vault on there, so you have vault and smoke screen to help with your clear times.
Yeah, and I bet for Crusaders, it'd probably be something like adding the horse if you're not using that, or adding Iron Skin just for mobility or more defense, whichever you're lacking. But it's really, so sometimes it's interesting that we can all say that about your respective classes, and I wonder if it's more a symptom of AoE being king and therefore lowering the status of single target, because it's clear that we need it in order to kill these Greater Rift Guardians, but at the same time, none of us are equipping a skill to give us that utility. So like I don't it's weird, there's this disconnect between knowing that we need it in some very specific cases, but yet not gearing for it or not speccing for it.
I think the issue is it serves the same purpose in that it's either a primary skill, a generator or a spender of resource. So it's like inherently always going to be inefficient to have multiple generators or multiple spenders, although I guess there are a few builds that have that. But as far as like spammable spenders and generators, it's inherently wasteful to have more than one of each.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really is what it comes down to. Is if you're truly min-maxing, then you don't want to have that wasted space there where you're using one but not the other.
Yeah, which kind of comes down to, some of the issues we talked in previous episodes about, like elemental damage or skill damage, how it, even though it makes it feel really awesome because I get this huge damage bonus to like this one particular skill or this one particular set of damage, it does kind of narrow your focus because, I'm limited to only doing fire damage, or I'm limited to only doing cold damage. And then, I have so much invested into, say, cluster arrow that I can't really branch out and do anything else. Or, I want to do the current ball lightning build, so everything is pumped into elemental arrow, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's interesting because that really seems to be where they want to push the game. So I wonder if the issue of even, because it has been something that seems to come up from time to time, just what can we do to make single target more appealing? I wonder if they've kind of given up on that and more instead pushing towards this. Well, we're going to make basically a set for every skill. And when you finally find the set that plays towards your favorite skill or skills, combination of skills, then that's the build for you, and then you'll try and leverage it as best as possible.
Yeah.
I was hoping that they would use Greater Rifts to make single target skills worth it, which I think they totally could if Greater Rifts were a little bit different. If Greater Rifts were set up so that you had to kill everything. Like, for example, instead of like going through a whole dungeon, if you like go through a series of rooms and you can't get to the next room until you've killed everything in that room, and then they could just make some of the rooms only have one or two bigger mobs in it. And then people with single target skills would do better in those rooms, and people with AoE would do better in like the mob rooms. And so maybe some builds with both would come out, but at least single
Mhm.
target would be more worth it.
Yeah, I think another way that they could do it is just shifting the balance of the Greater Rift, because you have two main components when you're clearing a Greater Rift. You have the number of mobs that you have to kill, so you have all of this AoE damage that you have to do in order to get the Greater Rift boss to spawn, and then you have the Greater Rift boss itself. If you maybe shift more of that total time spent in the Greater Rift from the clearing to the boss, make it faster to clear 100% of the Greater Rift, and just increase the health of the Rift boss itself, it might put a little bit more pressure towards there. Though I'm sure that's probably something that they've already thought of, and maybe something that they've played with, and maybe didn't find that as being as good of an advantage, or as much. How far do you have to push that slider to make people go through and say, well, I need single target, and then they sacrifice their AOE, and then instead of the Rift Guardian being kind of like this big hurdle to get through, it's now clearing trash is so troublesome. Why don't they nerf it?
Yeah, and the two issues I see is like Rift Guardian already takes up a good chunk of the Rift, and I guess also the progress bar. Sometimes like you feel like you have tons of time left to finish the Rift, and then you get to the boss and it's still you don't finish it because the boss just takes forever, so it's a little misleading.
Yeah, this is very true.
I was wondering though, how much would they have to buff single target skills for you to start using them? Like, if they increase the damage by like 20-fold, then obviously we'd all be using single targets. So like at a certain point,
Well, but that's why I think something like the which one? Oh, the whirlwind. Well, I have so much trouble with that word. The whirlwind build. I'm just gonna say WW. The WW build for barbs. That set that's coming out. I think that's why there's such heavy interest in it, because it's the kind of thing where you can still do your AOE. Like WW is going to be tons of AOE, but you're actually gaining pseudo single target damage, because whenever you apply your Ren dot onto a mob, then the damage that you're doing to that one specific single mob is increased a ton. So maybe that's kind of the way that we can, fake single target DPS boosting, by making it so the sets that are created, or items in general that are created, kind of give more power. I guess in a
yeah.
way though, it's not really that though, right?
Well,
It's just
maybe
boosting your AOE higher.
yeah, maybe a better example would be like the exploding palm build that monks have, where they once they have exploding palm on a target, they're incentivized to single target that mob down to blow it up, and if they have the new bracers, apply it, or not bracers. What item is it that applies it to all the other?
It's the bracers.
It is great.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you're right.
Gung Do gear.
Gundo, yeah.
No gear.
So that's like single. I guess monks have always had single target on their build for that reason. So yeah, maybe if you have some incentive to prioritize a single target, so that you can do more damage to other targets, then you'd have single target skills on your build.
Actually, that kind of reminds me of early barb builds in general, where people were using frenzy, but they were taking the sidearm rune, which threw out another axe as you were doing frenzy, to do like actual single target, but still have an AOE component to it. So I wonder if maybe that's the rub, where you kind of you have a single target skill, but it also has AOE implications to it. So something like an exploding palm, or something like a even what's that skill? The bell that you drop, wave of light.
Wave of light. Yeah.
Yeah, which is huge single target, but then it also explodes out and can hit multiple enemies too. So.
Yeah, I mean, wave of light, I wouldn't even really consider a single target spell. That definitely is like an AOE clear.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what we can do. And
maybe Diablo's just not a single target kind of game. Because like even when single targets are worth it, they're not as fun.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it was just I'll make it a quick point, but I was just gonna say that I think that really is actually a strong kind of thing to say about the game, is that most, like, what were people complaining about before patch 1.0.8 came out? Density. People wanted to kill more things faster, harder, stronger, better, faster, whatever. I think I said faster twice. It was this idea.
Twice.
Absolutely. It was this idea of just wanting to be this massive wrecking ball of force, going through these maps and clearing out everything, and having tons of enemies coming at you that you just lay at your feet. And so I think that really is kind of what the players want. And so it makes sense to cater towards that style of play versus these awesome, grandiose one-on-one fights.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Maybe it's just a losing battle trying to make single targets worth it. Because it seems
Even just
Yep.
like some single target skills have started to be used, but it's only because they give you some kind of AOE in return,
Hmm.
right? Like Ray of Frost. Well, it's not used that often, but when it was used, it was used in conjunction with the offhand to let it pierce through targets. So now it's like, oh well, we made it useful by turning it into an AOE ability.
yeah,
And
that's a good point.
well, yeah, we got on
Well,
quite a tangent there, didn't we?
yeah, that we did. And I mean, before we actually go off of that topic, this is a problem that they even had, with design in Diablo 2. And there, of course, you couldn't just go through and change out your skills. So some classes, in particular, we've been talking about it, the Barbarian, you had to choose between Berserk or Whirlwind. And Whirlwind was great because you could go through and farm trash packs and things like that. It was great for farming the pit or farming council for gold, or you could go through and just clear World Stone Keep and things like that for the high item level, monster level drops. But you could never run a boss with it. Whirlwind
Hmm.
it was horrible. You would never kill Hellbell. It'd take you 30 minutes. It was stupidly retarded how much it would take to actually kill a boss. And then you had Frenzy, which would kill bosses like nothing, but because it was a single target, you would take forever if you wanted to try and clear mobs. So it's like if you wanted to play a barbarian and take the most out of the end game, you leveled 2. One is Berserk, like one is like Berserk Frenzy. Sorry, I said Berserk before it was Frenzy, and then the second one for Whirlwind. So that way you could do multiple things. It's like, oh, we're doing bail runs. Oh, okay, let me hop on my Frenzy Barb. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, we're going and clearing the pit. Well, let me get my Whirlwind. And it was just interesting things that they did there, and the builds or classes that did effective had AOE abilities that could also be single target. Like necromancers, they had if you were bone, you used bone spear, which was primarily an AOE, but did decent single target damage when compared to bone spirit. Which, if you were insanely geared and very high level, you could get bone spear to do more damage than bone spirit at like friggin' level 40 with all of your synergies maxed out.
Hmm.
And it's just sort of like lightning zons and poison zons and such. It was always just even then AOE ruled. Single target was meh.
Right.
Yeah.
And even like thinking back to the days when I had a sorceress in D2, you were leveraging what was that skill? Static shock, static
Static
charge?
shock, yeah.
Yeah,
Stat-
which basically allow it was almost like a built-in crushing blow, like how much HP it would take away from the mob. So if you ever got down to those single target situations, because sorceresses were like insanely good at AOE with Frozen Orb and Nova and all those skills, but when you did get down to those one-on-one situations, you almost had to use static shock by default because you were just going to sit there spamming frozen orbs at them forever. So it is kind of interesting that the one way that you would bring it into a build that's primarily there for AOE would be a mechanic that chunks huge amounts of life away. So that almost again brings us back to the question of like how much would you have to buff single target? Like what if single target was just crushing blow based or something? I mean, I guess they tried it and that didn't work. So
All this D2 talk is making me want to play D2 again. It'd be cool if we could like all play D2 and have our viewers watch or something.
yeah, and if only there was like some sort of ladder reset that would make everything fresh and new again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Viathan, what do you think?
hold on, I got a text here. Oh, cool. Brandy said that she's really stoked that she stopped by the show, and also on Tuesday they reset the D2 ladder. What?
Oh
What?
wow! Thanks,
Wow,
Brandy.
that is awesome.
Great timing.
Uh, uh,
Well, what are you guys doing December 6th?
December 6th? I don't know.
It's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday. I guess I could be down for maybe playing some Diablo 2.
Diablo 2. That sounds not like Diablo 3.
Not at all. It's kind of like Diablo 3, but with less skills and graphics.
Hmm. I have a question. do I have to go through the burden of having my gold auto picked up for me, or do I get to enjoy it by clicking on it?
Well, that's the secret of when you play in groups is someone else will click the gold.
And all your items. You don't have to
Uh-huh.
click anything, Leviathan.
Yeah, people thought that there was no auto gold pickup in Diablo 2. That's not true because whenever you ran public games, there's always that one guy for whatever reason thought that if he picked up the gold pile, only he got it, and so you just see this one person running around and picking up all the gold, and it's just like thanks, bud, because he didn't realize it was shared.
I will tell you this though: if it's an amount of gold that doesn't split evenly, he gets the extra one piece or however much.
Yeah, that's where he gets you.
He's getting richer.
I gotta say, I played D2 with some of my viewers who are much bigger D2 fans, and I realized that the real skill in that game is clicking the item before your friends can. Because I got nothing. I was like so undergeared compared to everyone else because they were just like, oh, I'll take that. Oh, I'll take that. Just like going to take it. I'm like, ooh, I think this looks. No, gone.
Yeah, you can't even think about it. Just click, and worry about it later.
Yep.
So I think we should do that. December 6th, I can clear some time out of my D3 for some D2.
Yeah. Since it is an 8-player game, yeah, we could invite a lot of the viewers in to come and join us.
Yeah, I guess.
So charitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what time works for you? Like 6 in the morning?
Usually
an idea out there.
I'm unconscious at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, that's weird. You're not still up from the last night playing Diablo.
No. The truthfully, I get up at 6 in the morning.
All right, so I think we decided noon Pacific. Did we settle on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific.
Yeah,
December 6th.
We didn't talk about this earlier. It's just like through telepathic Skype signals. I was pretty sure. We just decided that. So yeah, mark on your calendar, guys. December 6th, we'll be live streaming with some of you guys. If you want to play, send us an email. We already got a few. westmarchworkshop@bluespro.com. You just got to be available for, a short, 16-hour session. Starting December 6th at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, that should be enough to get to level 99 and fully geared, right?
Oh, certainly.
No stop till 99.
I'm excited though, just because the same way. Like I love that leveling up process. I love that freshness of started from the bottom. Now we're here. So
there were some suggestions last week when we were going through and talking about this in the after hours about possibly doing like Iron Man.
Ah.
ooh.
That's intent. That could go really well, or it could be us doing Act 1 for a long time.
Yes, a very long time. Very long time.
Hey, who doesn't love Andy runs?
You couldn't go back and re-clear.
Oh, you have to. Oh, wow.
Well, I guess there were so many different iterations of Iron Man, but there was the one that I liked is you always had to move forward. If you got disconnected or something, you could start in a game at the closest waypoint, but you couldn't go back and kill other things with which to level up. So you had to kill. You got into your game, and so you want to kill everything in the Cold Plains, before you moved on. You wanted to try and get as much experience as you could out of Act 1 before you killed Andariel, because you could never go back.
Can never go back. I heard a song about that once. Dang. Well, that's pretty exciting. And because we're talking about things of old, how about old games that you can get for cheap, like Diablo 3, if you don't own it? I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast if you don't.
That was a good segue attempt.
I tried to segue. I fell off my segue. But yes, since this is the eve of Thanksgiving that we're recording tonight, Black Friday is on its way. And in order to get people stoked about that, Blizzard went and lowered the prices on both Diablo 3 and Reaper of Souls. So if you've been holding off, or maybe you're a console player and you listen to the show and you kind of want to know what all the PC hubbub is about, you can go into the Blizzard.net store, Blizzard.net, Battle.net store, and grab yourself Diablo 3 and Reaper of Souls for $20 each, and come and play with us.
Yeah. And if you are a console player, like Leviathan was mentioning, from what I've seen of the Black Friday ads, the Ultimate Evil Edition for the PS4 and the Xbox One, it seems the best deal is going to be at Best Buy. They have the Ultimate Evil Edition for only $30 for either platform that you get it for. So that's actually a pretty good break there as far as getting a sale, no matter whether you play on PC or console. And if you don't think that's a good deal, there's also a way that you can get a copy of the game for free, because if you've been listening to the podcast, you should know, and if you haven't, and this is your first one, we are doing a contest where you can win a free copy of the Ultimate Evil Edition for the PS4. How do you enter? All you have to do is just send us in at westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com your idea for the Ogchild's set bonuses. We've already had a bunch of entries come in from this past week, so definitely go through and get your entry in. We'll pick our favorites on December 2nd and then reveal the winner on December 3rd, our next week's podcast. So please get your entry in now.
And
Open to U.S. and Canada residents only. Just mention
that's like that part at the end of the ad where the guy speaks super fast. No, don't listen to this.
Well, it's just like that.
Funny. But I did want to go through and acknowledge Crow's comment, because I am a selfish and terrible person, that you could also be purchasing these things even if you do own it for a friend for Christmas, or for the holidays, or if you just want to be charitable. So, even if you already own the game, think about buying it again and sharing the love of killing demons with someone else that's close to you in your life.
Oh yeah, friends.
What are friends?
What are friends? We're playing Diablo 2. There is no friends. And it's like, you stole my set piece. You.
Yeah. If you had friends going in, you will not going out.
Mm-hmm.
I will be going hostile on all of you at some point. So,
better bring it.
It'd be a good way to. We usually ended our Diablo 2 sessions by just dueling with whatever we had.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Murdered, yeah.
To the death.
Yeah.
Cool.
Ring. Crow just had a great one. Ring in the holiday spirit by giving the gift of hell to a child in need. That is beautiful. That brings a tear to my eye. That is sheer beauty.
Well
that guy is a clever guy. Hey, if you enjoy those words, you could look up more words by him at our Warcraft site for the Blizz Pro suite of sites. I love saying that. So if you head over to warcraft.blizzpro.com, you can also get some sweet news on, was it Warlords of Garrisons or something?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The expansion name is Garrisons of Draenor.
Much more fitting.
There you go. So a little plug there, cross site promotion. But I think we've exhausted the news. I think that's.
I don't remember talking about news. I just remember rambling about a bunch of nonsense. But I guess there was some news in there somewhere.
Hopefully, someone learned something from that. And maybe it was Diablo related.
We can only hope.
But Leviathan, lucky you guys, prepared a little treat since we knew that it was going to be short on news today.
That's true. Something to look forward to. Or are we doing that before feedback and items or after?
I think before.
Oh, yeah, before. Let's do it now.
Yeah, y'all ready for this?
Screw it.
Okay.
Let's do it live.
You guys have do it live. You guys have the YouTube video queued up?
Yes.
Okay, I'm hitting play in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, guys. So this is my newest creation for Diablo 3 patch 2.1.2 when it comes out. I was testing in the PTR and trying to come up with a new Crusader build that might do something interesting. So as you'll probably see on your screen right now, I'm just going through the skills as I came up with them. The primary generator is /Zeal. It's pretty standard for the Condemned Crusader. Some people might think of running this without a generator because, as you'll probably see in the gameplay footage, you actually don't stand still for a very long time, so you're not really able to use your generator. So it's something I could play with in the future. You'll see that Condemn is a skill that's obviously very central to this build, but I'm using the vacuum rune instead of the standard unleashed, and we'll go into a little bit on that later. The first utility skill is Iron Skin, and normally people will use what's it called? Steel Skin, which is the one that makes it last longer. But I'm actually using Flash, and I'll explain more about that later on as well too. The standard Accurate's champion with Profit, that really doesn't need much explanation. Once you have the full CDR with your Akon set, then you have Accurate's champion the whole time. So it's a damage buff, it's a utility buff with Wrath regen, and it's an armor buff. So it's just really strong. You always want that on your build, and whenever you're doing a Crusader thing. Walls of Valor is a skill that you could possibly swap out for something else. If you're low on toughness or you're low on healing, then maybe you want to use one of the other laws. Maybe you use a different skill entirely. But I'm using it with Unstoppable Force just to manage that Wrath regen a little bit better. And lastly, Provoke is in there with Too Scared to Run. Some people run it with Charged Up for the extra damage, but I'm using Too Scared to Run to debuff the mobs and keep them in place, basically, as I CC them with the Vacuum. And your passives, pretty standard again. Heavenly Strength because it requires a Blade of Prophecy, two-hander. Indestructible because you want to stay alive, even if you die. Holy Cause because just flat damage. This one's a little bit more controversial. You could swap into something else. But I like Holy Cause just because it is a holy build, so you get a little bit of refractory healing there. And Finery because there's so many gems with legendary gems now, so it makes sense to use it. Next, it's going into the gear. It's a con set, of course, so you're going to want your shoulders. I'm actually using the Akon helm, and some people might be like, what? That's crazy. But using that instead of Leoric's crown, because I have the CDR cap met without using a Ring of Royal Grandeur to activate the Leoric's crown and still have the full 6-piece Akon. So with what that does is it enables you to use an SOJ that has CDR on it and get way more elite damage into your build, which is going to be paramount when you're tackling these higher, greater rifts. So this is going to be a really strong way to buff up the damage in your build. The chest piece you can see there has reduced elite damage. It's kind of an overlooked stat, but that's really important just for taking less damage from elites. It's way better than the all res that you could possibly get there, or the life percent. And it's just going over the other Akon pieces, pretty standard all around the board. I'll show you in a second here the Eye of Etlich, which is a really strong amulet because the reduction to ranged attacks. Sorry. I'm actually looking at the video, and I skipped over the fact that on boots, it's actually nice to keep the 12% movement speed because you can then only use Paragon points for 13% movement speed to meet the 25% cap. And then it actually gives you more points to put into, main stat or VIT. And that actually can allow you to gain more damage or more toughness, whatever you choose, than you would be able to get if you were to go with. I'm saying it in a weird way, but basically you just have to trust me that it's well worth it. Versus the only other set you would really want there would be the life per second. And although they did buff it in 2.1.2,
there's not like a skill damage boost in that slot that's useful for this build.
Not for Condemn. For ponies, it would be the Phalanx you would want there for sure. But for Condemn, there's nothing there that boosts up the damage. So that's a good question though. And then, so back to the Eye of Etlich, and I'm also showing the String of Ears too. And both of those are used just because you get melee damage, huge melee damage reduction, and a huge range damage reduction. And a lot of the affixes that elites will throw at you are classified as range, so they actually reduce a lot of the damage you take from elites. And then, of course, the Unity, which is standard. And I have the Maronite gem in there, which is also standard for the Condemn build. And as you can see, because I don't have a CDR SOJ with a socket, that would be ideal. You would roll the strength into either the socket if it rolled the CDR, or the CDR if it rolled the socket. It's only a 2-gem build, which is interesting. It just shows you how much more power this thing could actually have. But I'm also using Bane of the Trapped just because of the fact that this is a melee build, so their mobs are always under the effect once you have the level 25 unlock going for you. And my Frighter's Wrath shield isn't anything to write home about, but I do like the fact that it has the vitality on there, just because of the amount of peril that you throw yourself into with this particular spec. You're pretty much always surrounded by mobs, and you're always being hit. So you want to have a nice hefty pool of life with which to mitigate damage from. And your standard Blade of Prophecy. And of course, you want really high CDR on all your pieces, the max rolls if you can possibly get them, so that way you can run without a Leoric's Crown.
Nice. And I might have... Oh, that's not what we want. I might have a video pulled up of some gameplay you can see with this build. Here we go. About to do a Greater Rift. Yeah, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about how the build plays while we watch it.
Okay, yes. So...
Error occurred.
Yeah, gotta fix that.
So I'm doing a Greater Rift 42 here, and again, you have to remember this is the PTR, so the scaling of the health and the damage of the mobs was decreased quite a bit past Greater Rift 25. And what that means is that you can go much higher in Greater Rifts on PTR/patch 2.1.2 than you would be able to on live currently. So, 42 might be equivalent to 38 or 39 now. And basically, you'll see the style of the gameplay is to really just throw yourself into the midst of the enemies. You basically want to go around to, this build will do its best in like really wide open maps because you'll be able to pull way more enemies all the time. And the fact that the density went up in Rifts with the 2.1.2 changes really makes this build shine, because the more enemies you have around you, the stronger Condemn will be. You're just going to get more procs off of your Blade of Prophecy. You're going to get more procs off of your Miranai. It's a beautiful thing when you see all those things, all those gold beams raining down from the sky and just obliterating pretty much all the mobs around you.
That was actually going to be something that I commented, that you were talking with me earlier, that this build really shines mainly because of the density changes in 2.1.2.
Yeah, and it was the kind of thing I was thinking about because I was doing the Romo trials, and I was like, wow, because the switch to the frequency with which the waves change over, because the waves come really quickly, you can basically always have a vacuum up. So something like the Taiguk gem, which relies on you always spending to keep those stacks up, actually goes up in value quite a bit. Because you're just always having something to vacuum and you're never really wasting wrath there. And I said, well, with the density changes, it's kind of the same thing. Like there's always a wave of enemies coming at you. So why not try that build inside actual Greater Rifts? And you really start to get fast clear speeds. Like you'll see it starts out slow, but you get ahead of the time very quickly. And at some points, you'll be able to pull 2 packs, maybe 3 packs if you're really brave at the same time. And the build only gets better the more enemies you have around you. So as long as you feel safe enough, and as long as you are very judicious about your use of the Iron Skin with Flash, because what that does is makes it so you're able to move through unhindered through mobs. So let's say you get stuck in a corner, you vacuumed way too many things, and you're like, crap, this is a really bad sitch. You just throw down your Iron Skin with Flash, and that allows you to kind of reposition yourself, reposition the mobs a bit with the vacuum, and just always make sure you're kind of on the outskirts, just constantly pulling them so the CC effect is going down.
And Desert Ninja said it's like the critical mass Crusader. But it totally reminds me of like vanilla Diablo, where you always wanted to be in a pile of mobs right on your face.
Yeah, that's actually a really good callback.
And one of the other things that I've remembered that they made a change in this patch is that they changed the number of mobs that can actually be CC'd, like with the vacuum effects. Because there used to be certain elite packs that you couldn't pull. Like at the beginning of the video, you saw a champion, a yellow mob, a rare that you pulled in. Currently on live, you can't pull rares.
That's a great point. They did change that, and that was one of the changes they were making to the Romo trials, just to see if it would feel better for players that wanted to use more of those pull skills like Cyclone Strike or like a vacuum. To be able to go through and just have more consistent clear times. Because the one thing that would suck would be you're doing the Romo trials and you get the Golgors or some of the fattier mobs that just can't be pulled, and all of a sudden you're stuck at that wave, but you might actually be able to do the next wave if it just didn't include enemies like that. So being able to pull everything actually makes a pretty big difference. Nearly everything, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you just kind of created this build playing around on the PTR?
Yeah, yeah, because remember, like last week we were talking, and I was saying like I couldn't believe I was able to make a greater of 43 key just from giving it my first attempt on using vacuum in the PTR with the Crusader, and from there I was like, man, like this just seems like really powerful. And because it's PTR too, right? Like you're a little more willing to risk things. So I'm like, like what if I get stuck? Okay, then I die. Like, but I at least got to try this just to see if it works or not.
Mhm. And what bracers were you using again?
The strong arm bracers, you're right that
Okay.
I actually didn't touch that. Yeah, so normally what I run with is the slave bonds, just because they allow you to have more primary affixes, and that means you can have an elemental percent, your strength, your vit, all res, and critical hit. And because that gives you a lot of defensive utility, it made sense for a melee build like Condemn. But when you go to Vacuum, you get so much extra damage from the legendary affix on the strong arm bracers, which gives you up to a 30% boost to your damage whenever mobs are, is it knocked back or
Yeah,
pulled or
knockback.
yeah,
It's a
and
knockback, but a pull is considered like a knockback towards you.
exactly.
I force push you towards myself.
Hey, I'm not sure if you saw it, but Mikey has a name for your build.
The Hoover Crusader?
I like
Holy
it.
Hoover.
The Holy Hoover Crusader. I
Holy
like that
Hoover.
one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Holy
Mhm.
Hoover build. Yeah.
And some
There it is.
people are also asking for a link to the video itself. I know you have it set to private right now, but you might want to start sharing that around.
Yeah, no, it definitely will. I'll go through and actually do one with some commentary too. So, this one is silent for the purposes of us using it here on the podcast, but I'll go through and, do another cut with some sounds or maybe just put a voiceover on this one or something.
Nice.
But yeah. Yeah, I kind of, you can see I got a conduit here, and like I almost didn't want to use it just to prove that the build worked fine without it. But I was like, all right.
But it's a conduit.
Right. And I mean,
Say
people
no.
are going to find conduits when they actually are trying the build too, so might as well.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Might as well live a little.
Well, yeah, viewers have been asking for build videos for a while, so that's awesome you found this one on PTR. And let us know what you guys think about the builds. Maybe we'll try to squeeze a few more into the show when we don't have as much news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love
That's
to.
definitely something that I am working on. Everyone knows that I love demon hunters, but I really want to jump into and get a hold of witch doctors. They've always looked like so much fun, and it's one of my least played classes, and so I want to do that transition because there's some really interesting things that are coming up with that new wormwood item that I want to try out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right.
This section of the video right here too is actually showing you the power of the speed pylon, because it gives you a knock up, which I think might actually activate the strong arm bracer effect. And also the fact that it gives you that same impervious, be able to walk through any enemy or waller as well as what your iron skin with flash gives you. It's basically that effect for a full minute without having to use your iron skin, so you can actually use it a bit more defensively. So in a way, like some of the changes they've made to the other pylons are pretty strong and are utilized by this build, because even the shield pylon, which gives you the reflex damage shield, that works a lot too, because you're always surrounded by stuff, you're always taking hits. I'm thinking it's bug though. I don't know if you guys have noticed this on PTR, but it's supposed to explode for, I think, the damage that you've taken while you had the shield up.
That was something that they mentioned at BlizzCon, but was not in the patch notes. The patch notes only say that they added on the reflex damage. They didn't add in the explosion at the end of it.
Oh, okay. All right. So I've
But
been looking for things that aren't there.
Yeah, it was definitely something that they wanted to do, or that at least they mentioned doing, but it's not been in the patch notes that I've seen. It was just that they added on the reflex damage. And the other thing with the speed pylon is it actually does damage when you knock them back up. Obviously, it's not going to be something that you can really tell a difference at Rift 40 like we see, or 42 that we see here in the video. But just when I was playing around on Torment 6 on my Demon Hunter with the speed pylon, just a normal Rift, it was like chunking enemies for half their health, and is just running around in circles around some of the elites and doing pretty decent damage for a build that can freely move and do all of their skills without having to stop and do anything like a Crusader. That seems like it'd actually be pretty ridiculous.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, so the only thing I really have to add, so now we're at the Greater Rift Guardian, and this is the part that's just painful because single target has always been a rough part of the Crusader condemned builds in general. Really good at AoE clears, but really hard to take down Greater Rift Guardians without a dedicated, kind of bringing us almost full circle, without like dedicated single target within the build. So some of the things I'm thinking that I would want to also test would be maybe swapping out String of Ears, although that's a huge toughness loss, mitigation loss. But you would maybe switch that in for Belt of the Trove, which is the new Season 2 Crusader belt that gives you the free bombardments every couple of seconds. That might add some extra DPS in here that could help. Also, just getting that third ring slot with a CDR SOJ, because I think what would really improve this would be Taiguk, because you're always spending Wrath. The entire time I've been in this rift, I have not either run out of Wrath or topped up on it. So I'm just constantly spending it and constantly getting it back. And if you had Taiguk, you would have the benefit of that gem the entire time. So it'd be extra armor and extra damage all the way through, like way out performing the Bane of the Powerful. And in an instance like this, where you would love to have more damage and possibly more toughness because the Greater Rift Guardians just hit harder, something to consider.
Potentially. How many stacks does the Taiguk, when you increase the level, it just goes up by 1 stack, or what was it?
It gives you 1 stack, and each stack gives you 0.5% of the respective things. So I think the unlock actually, you can go ahead, and if you know it, you can go ahead.
Yeah, it's the unlock gives you the increased armor, so it's both defensive and offensive. I think at that point it will never actually match Bane of the Powerful.
Really? No, because at 60 stacks you're getting 30% damage and 30% armor.
Yeah, but what is the Bane of the Powerful at rank 6 or rank 40?
It's seconds. So you would have.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Bane of the Trapped. I'm bad.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Never mind.
All right. So I was like, wait, what?
Nope.
Mystery is solved.
9ball is wrong. Surprise.
I can't believe how quick you cleared this rift versus how long this Guardian is taken.
It's almost like half and half, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or even like a third, 2/3. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And sometimes if you get insane density, like I was telling 9ball when I first started thinking about this build, you can get the first part of the rift down like 5, 6, 7 minutes. It really started to remind me of the Raycore power, the power of the Raycore build, just because you're clearing the trash that much faster, that much quicker. But it really slows down here.
It makes the Firebird set look nice because Firebird's better in AoE, but it also is just good in long fights in general, so it still does okay on Rift Guardians.
Has that changed? I haven't really seen anyone complaining about the change of the DOT. Has that made a big difference in terms of having to stick around for it to stay on the Greater Rift Guardian?
No. I mean, as long as you're not like actively running away, it seems like it still keeps ticking down. So, I mean, you'll have to avoid the Rift Guardian's attacks instead of just going to like another room and waiting. But I don't think it's gonna be a significant nerf to this set.
It's only going to be a nerf for those people that were kind of using it in that exploitive way. Go through, stack up the dot to max, and then teleport to the other side of the rift.
Yeah.
And then just not worry about it, and then just wait till the boss is dead.
Yeah. Which I did mostly for fun and not out of necessity. Wow, look at all those 20 times legendary. That's insane. So you for average Rift Guardian, you're getting like a dozen legendaries or so in the PTR?
Yeah, I think it's like 6.
8 there, I think.
Is that 8? Jesus.
I see 8 question marks, yeah. Oh, well, hey, what should we watch next, guys? We have all these options. Watch Mascara. All right. Yeah, anything else you guys want to touch on before we move into feedback section?
Yeah. So, what were the 3 legendary gems that you'd be using with that build?
I would use Bane of the Trapped for sure, just because again you're always in melee, so it's going to give you that constant DPS increase, which is going to be important. And then Miranai is the staple. If you're using a holy build, you want Miranai in there because it helps to give you that weakness that the build truly has, the single target. So you're going to see procs if you have enough holy damage and you have decent DPS. You'll see procs of like almost 200 million, maybe higher. Which just adds significant damage. And the fact that there's a really nice proc coefficient for Condemn in general, especially on Unleash, especially on Vacuum, and especially on Reciprocate, you'll get a lot of hits off of the Miranai. And that also is another reason why Zeal, I feel like, should stay in the build. You could experiment with using what is it? The Divine Verdict. I forget what the first part is, but that's the rune that you do a flash and it blinds the enemy, and that rune then puts like 20% extra damage on them. But
Shield glare.
Shield glare, yes, thank you. Very nice. But I think that it's still better to have a generator, just because once you do get down to that Greater Rift Guardian, you're going to be generating more wrath, so it stays more consistent, and you'll also be getting more procs off the gem, which is going to help to chunk down the Greater Rift Guardian. So those 2 gems, and then once you get the third socket, I would say Taiguk would definitely be. But that would be something I would to test. I just haven't ever been able to test it. But I would think in my heart of hearts, Taiguk would be the one to go with.
Nice. All right. Well, yeah, we didn't get a ton of feedback this week, so we're asking for you guys, especially when I'm playing on PTR. We'd love to hear from you guys and see some of these awesome legendaries you're getting, because they have to be out there with the 2,000% drop rate increase. But before we start reading the emails, just please, if you want to send in any feedback, we really appreciate it. Email it into westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. And that can be items of the week, questions, comments, or submissions for the contest we have right now.
Or if you want to throw your name into the hat for joining us in our Diablo 2 stream on December 6th.
All kinds of things you can. Yeah, we got a few of those already. I'll take a quick one here to start us off. This is from James Knapp. And he says at BlizzCon they showed that after Season 3 you'll have all the transmog gear. You get 2 pieces of transmog for each season, so after Season 3 you could have the full set. So he's thinking maybe that means that Season 3 is the last season of this expansion. And that after that is when we're getting the second expansion. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, it just depends on the timing, because it makes sense in terms of the holisticness of having the full transmog set, but they could also do seasons where they give us something else that's going to be a reward rather than another like 3 pieces or 2 pieces spread over 3 seasons. Because I definitely don't think we'll see 6 seasons before the next expansion, but 3. Because I just imagine even if the season starts, if Season 2 starts and ends in Q1 to Q2, and then Season 3 is late Q2 to Q3. It's very possible, but that'd be so early because they would have to basically announce it in March and then release it in like September or something. That'd be so fast.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that they know how many seasons they're going to have before the next expansion. Like, they're playing it by ear so much, still don't seem to know how long each season's going to last. I wonder if they even have like an internal projected date for the expansion yet. And yeah, they could easily add like transmog weapons or other pieces to go along with the set if for Season 4 or 5 if they had them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think maybe I like 4 seasons. Having the entire set and then having the like a weapon transmog to follow that. But it would probably put it somewhere around like the D2 like 6-month seasons. In terms of length, because that would put you into 2016, which seems like a much more reasonable time frame for the launch of the expansion itself. It was 2015. We'd
Yeah.
get, at some point in 2015, we'd get the announcement, and then quarter one, quarter two, launch the expansion.
Yeah, I
in
think.
2016.
Yeah, I think I'd put it like about 2 years after the first expansion. That seems about right. That's what they've been doing with World of Warcraft, and almost what they've been doing with StarCraft. So seems about
Wait,
right.
Did I hear you right? You said you think they'll do a 6-month season?
Potentially.
That's way too long. Like season 1 already feels way too long, and it started what, the end of August, and we're at the end of November, so it's been August to September, October,
3 months.
November, 3 months, and that
Yeah.
seems to me to have been way, because it's stale. Like the leaderboards, as far as I look at them, they don't change all that often at the top these days. Maybe 1 or 2 people make moves in the course of like 2 to 3 weeks, and at that point, I would imagine everyone has their gear. Maybe they're searching for like 1 or 2 off pieces, but it just seems like it would be 3 months of excitingness and kind of getting towards staleness, and then 3 months of absolute staleness.
Potentially. I mean, we are sitting at 3 months right now, but we also know it's 3 months plus 1 because we've been told that we'll have a 30-day warning before the season itself ends.
That's true. So at least 4 months.
Yeah. If we start getting into December, then all of a sudden we're at 5 months.
Yeah, I agree with Leviathan. I hope that they make future seasons at least a little bit shorter.
I could see the reason why the devs would want them to be a little bit longer, because then they have more time to like come up with the items that we'll see in each season, and to maybe work on other things that aren't season stuff too. But I just worry about the player base having to sit with that same season for that long.
Yeah, it's true. It might be hard. I mean, can they really come up with a patch every 3 months? Or are they just going to do a patch every other season?
Who knows? It seems that they do kind of have, what we've seen so far is there is going to be at least minor balance changes coming in with every season, and in the future, we know there's going to be some bigger content patches coming in, like when they add in the ruins of Shesharon, and when they add in the new sets, in a future patch, whether that is like for season 3 or later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we'll have to see, and that's true. People are talking about ancient items in the chat, and that is something that will definitely drag the tail end out. So, if you think about it, having I hadn't really considered that, because if it's 3 months now, and we're all just like, oh man, my set's done, I don't have much to do, like I feel like I'm hitting my head against the greater rift wall. Then you have those ancient items to chase. I would do that for another month and a half. So what's that, 4.5 months right then at that point? I could be convinced to grind for a little bit longer if there were more things to chase. But yeah, I guess as it stands right now, I would much rather have like a medium length season than a longer season, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to tell how it'll be having ancient items from the beginning, how much extra time that'll give us. But it probably will make the leaderboards less stale, I imagine.
Hopefully.
It'll take longer for people to get to that level of almost perfect gear.
And as people like find an ancient weapon or something, someone might shoot up, and then you're like, oh crap, that guy must have found something sick. Like, oh yeah, spec him, and he's got an ancient weapon or whatever. And then you'll see a bit more shifting as people get their ancient armors and things like that. So yeah, I think it'll make for a more exciting shift back and forth.
Yeah. Well, one of you guys want to grab a feedback item?
Yes, I will grab one here because I have my buddy Ty Bud. He's back.
Yeah, with a vengeance.
We hadn't heard from him in a while, and then I guess he felt he should make up for that by sending in multiple emails, which we do not frown upon. Thank you, sir, for submitting all these excellent questions. He had one that kind of stymied me, and I realized that I don't have the answer to it, but I'm going to try anyways. So he says, sup, fellas, of course.
Of course.
Had another quick question for you guys. When you use the Hellfire amulets on a low-level character, but with a passive that normally can't be unlocked until later levels, do you still get the effect of that passive even at level 1? or is the passive not active until you reach the level that it unlocks? And so I literally just pulled up Diablo to because I have a couple of Hellfires, but I realized I have no level 1 Crusader, so I wouldn't be able to test it right now. But my guess is that you would get it
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I imagine you would.
because at the same vein. Well, I actually don't know this for certain, but I want to say that if an item drops that gives you a skill, because I want to say bombard. Oh, actually, yes, I do know the answer to this. I think because the bombardment belt for season 2, I'm pretty sure drops before you hit level 61, but it's a level 61 skill, and that's kind of iffy because it's not exactly the same.
I wonder if anyone in chat knows. Anyone either here or like watching a YouTube video later. Have you had a Hellfire amulet that you wore at level 1 or a level below whatever the passive on that amulet unlocked at? Were you able to use the passive?
Yes.
Let us
My
know.
gut says yes, but I would love to test it to know for certain. Just don't have the space to delete anything. We will get back to you, Ted.
What about doing it on the PTR?
You're a genius.
We can cover
All
another
right.
email while you do that.
Yeah, while he's
Yes.
going through and looking at that, I'm actually going to take another question by Ty Bud, which of course always goes through and starts with "Sup, fellas," stealing it from Leviathan. Since he's commenting about the Night Stalker change on the PTR, since they destroyed our discipline region and converted passive talent into a hatred region ability, does it work with Crider Shot? And when I was testing it, it did not. It's kind of difficult to explain, but even though Crider Shot makes it so that way, Elemental Arrow generates hatred, as far as the majority of all the game mechanics go, it's still considered a spender. So things such as like focus and restraint, the new Night Stalker, the change to the Night Stalker passive and such, is it does not count it as a generator. And that's one of the other ones with that I also expect with the new Demon Hunter set that will be coming out in a future patch, which buffs your hatred generators. It will not work with Elemental Arrow or Chakram. If you're using the quiver, is it just they kind of keep that distinction in the game files to prevent it from being used with a lot of those skills. Some of them, like especially with the new set coming out, which would make Cluster Arrow do like or not Cluster Arrow, but Elemental Arrow do insane amounts of damage. They're doing it specifically for things like that, and maybe a consequence is that the Night Stalker doesn't trigger, even though it wouldn't be that bad. Maybe it's something that they'll change as the PTR goes on. If it's something that you would like to see change, send in feedback, or either post to the forums or send your thoughts and feelings to Blizzard.
Yeah, it seems like it would be something that would be hard to balance if they did change it that way. If Leviathan's still doing his research, I'll take our third email from Ty Bud.
I am.
All right, and actually, I'm going to read this email, but the more seasoned players are going to have to help me with the answer here. He links to a profile of the #1 DH on Seasons. I'm not sure this is live. Or, sorry, it's no, Seasons. I just read that. Anyways, on Seasons, the #1 on the Greater Rift leaderboard has a Bane of the Trap at rank 65. And Ty Bud basically says, how's he getting up to rank 65? Even at tier 50, how would he level it up? I'm actually not sure how that works.
You can go a couple of levels over, though it is very difficult because it drops down, at a huge rate once your gym matches your level. But even though his solo rank is only 50, doesn't mean that he could do group ranks at higher.
No, there you go. Yeah.
And also, too, you can spec way more defensively, and you won't clear the Greater Rift, but you could go up to a higher Greater Rift, fail it, but you still get your chances at upgrades of gems.
Yeah, that's also true. That's also very true. But yeah, that's definitely one of those ones because you have some people that have gotten higher clears in the group Greater Rifts than they have with their solo.
Yeah, very nice. Well, I think that's all of our feedback other than the items of the week that are coming up. Should we go into those and then come back to you, Leviathan?
Yeah, I'm like frantically researching over here.
No
I
worries.
don't have
Oh,
one that
your
gives.
your camera just cut out for me at least.
Uh-oh, yeah, I see that it's turned off over here actually. Dun,
Well,
dun, dun.
I'll go ahead and go into items of the week because you can't see us over there anyways. Hopefully that'll figure itself out. We didn't get many submissions this week, so we need your items, especially if you're playing on PTR. Any sexy items. But the first picture I'm showing you is not an item. It's something funny that Mad Hamster found while playing the PTR. It was just an error that made it so his friend, the Collective, it said was slain by missing rare name. That was kind of funny. Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Because PTR.
Yeah, because PTR. And Mad Hamster also sent in this pair of Tasker and Theos with he rerolled perfect 10 crit and he almost got perfect Vit at 748 and he had a perfect Dex at 750 and then attack speed. Yeah. And then 48.
I'm not. No comment.
Nibal doesn't want to touch those because he's super jelly. Yeah, very nice. We get so many Tasker and Theos sent in. I think it's just to spite 9-ball.
It has to be at this point.
No comment.
I love it. I think that it's kind of that syndrome of like when people really care or when people know you really care about something, then but it makes you I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore, but you know what I mean.
They just want to make 9-ball cringe.
Exactly.
It's just that feeling, it's like when your friend is afraid of spiders. What do? You text him pictures of spiders at 2:00 in the morning. It's what you do because you care.
Nice.
Yeah, you know you'll get a rise out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next item.
In which, speaking of that, I have to say, if you're listening to this, I am sorry, but not sorry, Tim.
Okay.
Mm.
Because he has arachnophobia, and I text him pictures of spiders at 2:00 in the morning.
And maybe to give a similar reaction, all I have to do is say the word moist. I think moist probably.
Yeah.
Is the spiders for a lot.
I hate that word.
You're in that wagon as well.
Yeah.
Moist wagon.
Actually, I was watching. This is a bit of a derail, but I was watching Dane Cook stand up, and he was trying to come to a conclusion of why that word bothers people so much. He's like, "It's the oist."
I saw that.
Be the oist. Yeah. Oh, that's a really good special. I love his stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we're gonna get sidetracked on Dane Cook and talk about him for too long.
Yeah. Sorry.
But Cap'n Crunch. Not Captain. Cap'n Crunch. Spelled correctly. He crafted 228 items, 228 legendaries, and found that 23 of them rolled ancient, like this Unbound Bolt right here, which is almost exactly 10%. So he's confirming, it looks like 10% on crafted items seems to be about right on PTR right now. And it's Unbound Bolt. Rolled with 3,400 damage. That's including a 10% damage buff, but no attack speed affix on there. I don't.
That's really nice actually, because it looks like he's because he shows us what the max could be, and I'm not sure what the maximum minimum. Wrap your mind around that would be, but the max of the max is almost max.
Yeah. The max could be 1,200 in 1940, and it rolled 1931. Naturally.
And then, of course, one of the most beautiful things is level requirement reduced.
Yes, that's what I was going to point to next. Pretty nice.
Although,
are you going to say the same thing?
Yeah. I know where you're going. I'll let you finish.
All right. Thank you, Kanye. That affix just got a lot less useful because the Gem of Ease is a beautiful gem that's being added to the game where once you get the level 25 unlock for that, any weapon you socket it into will drop down to level 1 requirement. So this still would be the ultimate leveling bow, but without that affix necessary.
True story. And we actually only got one more item this week, and it is a furnace sent in by Paige. with 3,765 damage. That's what's a 10% damage affix, but again, no attack speed affix. Maximum reduced cooldown and a really good dexterity roll, 1062. And again, almost max natural damage on there as well. Could have gotten better damage against elites, but can't complain there.
No. And this is actually a weapon that's making a resurgence for monks now that their Sonowuko set operates much better. They're, instead of using the flying dragon, the furnace is becoming more their go-to weapon. So this could be pretty darn good for the upcoming, if he goes non-season. Oh, I don't even know if this is season or non-season, but something to look out for once the Sonowuko set goes live, or the change to the Sonowuko set goes live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see that Blizzard was able to nerf the Furnace and Reinhardt and still have them be somewhat useful. Because yeah, it's just obviously the old mechanic wasn't really able to be balanced, but it's nice that they're finding a fit in the game and still are a popular item.
Yeah, they weren't nerfed to the ground, just back to reality.
Yeah, crushing blow just doesn't work. It's wrong kind of scaling.
It was basically trying to make fetch happen, but fetch is not going to happen.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
But
Stop trying to make it happen.
Speaking of things that are happening, my testing of this darn question from Ty Bud has been solved.
Ooh.
My testing has been finished.
So excited. Wait. Should me and Nineball play some bets here?
Yes.
Nineball, do you think it's going to give the passive?
Yes.
You think it, okay, then I'll take the flip that it won't. And we'll bet next intro. We have to do the other person's intro next time.
All right.
I like that. All right. Well, drum roll, please. It does!
Ah!
Yeah! Next week was my week to do an intro, so all yours, sir. All yours.
All right, 2 in a row. I'll take it.
So, and I'll go through my process here, but I had a bunch of, oh my goodness, words. Hellfire amulets that I couldn't actually use for the test because they provided passives that I couldn't actively do while I'm standing here like at the beginning of Act 1. I don't know why I didn't do it in adventure mode. Anyways, these are concerns, don't worry about it. But I did find a Hellfire amulet that gives Divine Fortress, which is a passive that's unlocked at level 30, so that passes the test of one that you can't get at level 1. And, well, I guess you can't get any of them anyway. And so Divine Fortress, what it does is it gives you your armor increased by a % equal to your shield's block chance. And so the shield that you start with has 20% block chance, or maybe I just got lucky, but that's maxed out. And then this Hellfire amulet is giving me 710 strength. Now, when I unequip it, I have 28 armor, and when I equip it, you would think I would go up to 738 because 1 point of strength equals 1 point of armor. But I go up to 885.
Yeah.
So Divine Fortress is doing its work.
There you go. Very nice.
I feel like that was Mythbusters. We should bust more myths.
There should be a section on the show. Except for most of them we probably would either just know already or we wouldn't have the resources to find out during the show, I guess.
That's very true too.
So, I'm not sure why Leviathan is very pixelated.
Yeah, my cam was freaking out during the last 30 minutes or so. I had to unplug it and plug it back in, but it doesn't seem like it has fixed itself. So I'm just gonna be an alien from X-Files.
Yeah, your cam mixed with my internet connection, not a good combination. Well, that ends our feedback section and maybe the podcast. You guys have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Nothing from me at the moment. I'm just really excited to actually jump back into the Demon Hunter, surprisingly. I know I talked about Crusader at length for about 30 minutes today, but this Demon Hunter stuff has gotten me really re-addicted in a way, just because it's different gems, it's a different play style, it's just fresh, and I'm glad I'm getting to try M6 before it changes so drastically, because Nineball was saying, hey, now that you are getting a feel for it on live, go try the PTR, and that's kind of my next step, is to see what the heck is going to be the big hubbub once I change over.
Yeah, Yeah. But speaking of which, you're switching over to the Demon Hunter. I'm giving the Witch Doctor a
I know,
try.
that's what I was about to say.
Archon, what are you doing for season 2?
I know, so I either gotta go. Well, I guess the Barb or the Crusader is the logical choice. I was thinking. See, these are the classes I don't like. The 3 that are left. I don't usually play melee.
Oh, that's true. It's all melee left.
But yeah, I think the Barb and the Monk don't get that much love on our show. So maybe I got to roll one of those. What do you guys? I could ask chat even. If I was going to play Barb or Monk, what would you guys want to see?
Yeah,
I know everyone. Sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say we could throw some feelers out there, see what the community wants you to play, see what the listeners are. We've got some time. We have a minimum of 30 days as of today, or 31 days as of today until season 2 comes out. So
Yeah.
we got some time.
I'd actually almost even want to see what they would all want us all to play. Like if you could have your choice of each of us doing a specific class for next season, what would you ideally want us to play?
Yeah. Yeah, we almost need a straw poll, and maybe we'll do that after the show in chat, and then share the results with you guys via next show, because it might take a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have some Monk or Barb's stories prepared for next week's show, for sure.
Excellent.
We'll figure it out.
I'm surprised that there aren't a bunch of salty people saying, well, you should play Barb if their set was going to be in the next patch.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
Stay patient.
The only other thing that I'd like to add is just once again to remind people, we want to give you this. We want to give you a free copy of the Ultimate Evil Edition for the PS4. So please send us in your submissions. What you think the Ogchild set bonus should be. If you don't know what Ogchilds is, just
watch all of our podcasts.
Yeah, watch all of our podcasts. Watch some earlier episodes, and it basically comes down to is I can't read, nor can I enunciate, and that is pretty much the secret of Ogchilds. So have fun from there.
Nice.
Whatever your heart desires.
Yep. And again, sorry, but U.S. and Canada only as far as submissions go. Be creative to your heart's content. I think on last episode we said it doesn't matter. You could either follow the standard 2-4-6 set builds, or you could have a 16-piece set or like a 27-piece set bonus, which you can't even equip 27 pieces of gear, but that's okay. That'd be fun. We haven't gotten anyone sending in like images. I'd like to see someone's like visual concept of Ogchild. Yeah. So by all means, go ahead and send us in your feedback. Remember, you have until December 2nd, which is next Tuesday, to send us your submission, and then the winner will be decided live on December 3rd. If you don't catch our live show, don't worry, we will contact you via email. And that's
not available in countries that don't start with C or U and aren't in North America.
That was perfect.
And you can send your submission to westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com.
Yes, indeed. And with that, unless you guys want to insert something, I'm going to start the outro music. All right. So thank you guys for hanging out for the show. This outro music volume's turned down to 0. So let's try that. Okay, there we go. There we go. Thank you guys, for everyone who watched live, thank you so much. And if you want to catch the show live, we stream at twitch.tv/ArchonTheWizard most Wednesdays. We try to do every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you don't catch that, we're also on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, and the like. And send us in your feedback. We want to see what you got going on. Give us your questions, your items of the week, contest entries, and let us know if you want to play D2 with us. And just keep in mind, if you're playing Diablo and legendaries are raining from the sky, you're probably not dreaming. You probably just accidentally opened the PTR instead. Don't get your hopes up.
Aren't you thankful?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Oh yeah.